Hi guys, my name is Nikki, aka the Dragon Queen, and today I'm here with my wrap-up video. Now, I'm not entirely sure how many months I have missed because I've been distracted, so I'm just going to do May, June, and July. April, May, June, July? I'm just gonna throw it all into one big wrap up. Now, as you can see behind me, there are two very empty bookshelves, and what you can't see is right here, there are a lot of boxes full of books. There's also a bookshelf over there that you can't see on the opposite wall, and I have not unpacked any of my books yet, so I will try to post a picture here of the cover. I might just upload this. I'm lazy. Sorry, not sorry. So I am looking at my husband's phone, and this will tell me what I've read because I keep very good track. And I will tell you the book name, the author name, and my star rating. Now, for April, I read first The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstein. I gave that 5 stars. I actually reread this as part of my Pop Sugar Challenge, and it was still amazing. I listened to it on an audiobook, loved it just as much as I did in paperback. 5 out of 5 stars. I also listened to a lot of these books I've listened to on audiobook. I'm just throwing that out there. I think audiobooks are equivalent to paperback books. I just haven't had the chance to just sit down and read, so I listen to books while I'm working, and that's basically how I'm getting a lot of these books done. I listened to End of Watch by Stephen King, which is book 3 of the Mr. Mercedes series. It's the Bill Hodges trilogy. I finally finished the trilogy, so I'm excited about that. It didn't end quite how I expected. I was not expecting that ending. I did enjoy how he tweaked it, how he made it so that it was something I would not have expected reading books 1 and 2. So that was actually pretty cool. Next up, I listened to John Dies at the End by David Wong. This was very funny. I'm pretty sure I told you about this one. Very childish college humor. But I gave End of Watch 4 out of 5 stars, and I gave John Dies at the End 5 out of 5 stars. Up next, I listened to Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Room by Emma Donoghue. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I really recommend that book if you haven't read it. It's very emotional. It's very dark and emotional. I will just straight up tell you right now how dark and emotional it is. Up next, I read Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. It was a little bit slower, but I actually got really into it. I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did, mostly because it wasn't my stereotypical read, but I really enjoyed it. And this book, I believe I was sent. I don't think I purchased it for myself. I believe somebody had mailed it to me from a book exchange, send your favorite book thing, and I was actually really impressed with it. I enjoyed it a lot. And last for April was Forever Odd by Dean Koontz, which is book 2 of the Odd Thomas series. Now, I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I'm pretty sure I talked about this, but there were a lot of things in it that didn't necessarily work for me. Like, things just happened to work out for Odd, and I'm like, that's not how life works. You need to just let things happen. Sometimes bad shit happens, and bad shit just didn't seem to happen, and when bad shit happened, it just magically fixed itself, and that kind of put me off of the series. As you'll see, I think I read one more of his series, but I also gave it 3 stars, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep reading it. I might just do it to finish it. Maybe it gets better. I don't know. So in total for April, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books for a total of 2,812 pages. For May, May was a big month. I got a lot of reading done, or listening, I should say. But a lot of them were children's stories, so I'm just going to say that straight up. The first one I listened to was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, book 4 of the Harry Potter series. No, book 5. Book 4? Book 5. It doesn't matter. It's 4. It doesn't matter, but it's 4. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I don't recall the reasoning behind 4 out of 5 stars for that particular book. So far up to I'm on book 7 now, so I will say that. It's just, I think because of my age, it's not really clicking as well as it should. So I think that's what's going on. And then I read A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Bad Beginning, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. That's by Lemony Snicket. I read Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This audiobook was really difficult to get through. I finally just put it on to like a couple higher speed and just finished it. The main character has a speech issue because of an accident, and it was just, I understood why. It was just really challenging for me to read it or to listen to it and understand what was going on. So I did give it 4 out of 5 stars for the story, but I think I'd give it like 3 out of 5 for the voice only. I mean, I don't want to take away from the narrator. He got the character across perfectly, so it would be 5 out of 5 stars in that case. I think that it would have been beneficial to do the explanations of the character's speech would have been fine using that voice acting, but everything else I think would have benefited from a not raspy voice, if that makes sense. Up next, for 3 out of 5 stars, I listened to A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Reptile Room, another 2.5-hour audiobook. Very short read. I know this is a children's book. The reason why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars is just because a lot of it is silly. I get it that it's for children, but it kind of annoyed me that parents were just so freaking oblivious. Like, oh, well, that can't be the bad guy. It's like, seriously, where's your background checks here? You gonna do background check? Anybody? 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 No? Okay. Up next, I listened to Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. My friend recommended it. I did read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I think that's what it is. And my friend was like, oh my god, you have to read Shiver, it's amazing. So my library had it, I borrowed it, I liked it. Up next was Doll Bones by Holly Black. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. That was a cute story. It was from middle grade. It was about a doll that needed help from a quest, and a bunch of kids went on the quest, and it was cute. It was fun. It was short. There was a couple things in it that I didn't like, which is why I didn't get 5 stars, but overall it was pretty good read. Up next was Brother Odd by Dean Koontz, which is book 3. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars, so it got better. It still wasn't amazing, but it got better. Then I listened to Fire by Kristen Cashore, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Now, I have heard that Fire is book 2 in the Graceling trilogy, but it follows a completely different character. Now, personally, I enjoyed Fire. I liked the character Fire. So I enjoyed this book. I've heard that other people weren't fond of it, mostly because they were expecting Graceling, but it's from a different perspective, from a different continent. So I really actually did enjoy Fire, and I do plan on reading the 3rd book in the series. If you hear meowing, it's my cat. Up next, I listened to Silverborn by Patricia Briggs, which is book 5 in the series. I do anticipate on reading the rest of the series. I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 5 stars. All of her books are amazing. Up next was Rump, The True Story of Rumpelstiltskin by Liesl Schroetif, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Now, this one I actually really enjoyed. It is also a middle grade. It is a retelling, if you can't tell. And it's about a little boy who's born and his mother passes away, and all she manages to get out when she goes to tell her mother the name of the child is Rump. So the child was born with part of a name. And it goes on to the whole what's my name from the original Rumpelstiltskin, but it's more he doesn't know what his name is, so he needs to find it out in order to unlock his true potential. He believes that his name unlocks his destiny. And it was actually really cute how they didn't have stereotypical characters, they didn't have stereotypical situations, and it was a new take on that fairy tale, which I really enjoyed. Up next, I listened to Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I listened to, the last book for May was Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. Joe Hill's amazing. If you haven't read his books, please go read his books. They are fantastic. That one was just bone-chilling, creepy, but awesome. So for May, I read a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. Keep in mind, audiobooks, short stories as well mixed in there, for a total of 4,766 pages if it was physical. Up next is June. Now, I will say, as of July, I kind of had a 3-week break. So my July is a lot smaller, but June I read a lot. Up first was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I literally finished book 5 and within 24 hours started book 6 and finished it within 48 hours. In that book I gave 5 out of 5 stars. So book 6 sold me on the Harry Potter world and got me out of the irritation, because 5 irritated me. He was such a whiny bitch. Shut up. But 6 was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And then I borrowed The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket, which is the 4th book, I think, in the series. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Common theme with Lemony Snicket. I think it is a good read for children. I like that it's not all happy endings, but at the same time, there's some things that annoy me as an adult reading it. Up next is... Oh, wait. Nope, sorry, it wasn't. It was The Wide Window. Up next is Darkly Dreaming Dexter, which is by Jeff Lindsay. This is book 1 of the Dexter series, and if you don't know Dexter, it's a TV show as well about a man who takes it upon himself to kill bad people. And the first book, my friend's been dying to have me read, and I read it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I should listen to her more. She has good taste. Up next, I listened to The Alchemist by Michael Scott, which was one of my Pop Sugar books. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I finally read Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. Finally, I've had it forever. I have it in hardcover because I bought it as soon as I saw it was out, and I just read it. I know, I'm bad. I'm sad. And I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, like, if you don't usually read the books that are like anthologies from a series, pick this book up. It gives you so many stories that you want from their past, and it gives you so many endings that you wanted from the series. It gives you so much closure. And I loved it. I freaking loved it. I also listened to The Magician by Michael Scott, which I also gave 5 stars. That's book 2 of the Alchemist series. I do plan on listening to The Sorceress very soon, as soon as I get it from the library. Then I started The Badass Librarians of Timbuktu by Joshua Hammer. I got about 10% in, and I didn't really like it. Based off the name, I knew it was nonfiction, but based off the name, I thought it would be more adventurous, more fictional in its nonfiction, but it wasn't. It was just written, I think it would be written really well if you like nonfiction, but that's just not what I was feeling, and the title kind of tripped me up. I picked it up purely for the title, but I ended up DNFing it, so I do not count that towards my books. Then I listened to Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, and that was hilarious. 5 out of 5 stars. Makes me want to pick up every Neil Gaiman book ever, and I read Sandman and I really liked that comic, so I knew I would like his writing style, but it was just funny. There were so many things in there that I literally started cracking up laughing at work. Then I listened to The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. And then I listened to River Marked by Patricia Briggs, which I think is book 6, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. And then The Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan, 5 out of 5 stars. The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, 5 out of 5 stars. You'll notice a trend. The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan, 5 out of 5 stars. Now the problem that I did here, if you notice, The Lost Hero is book 1 in a different series by Rick Riordan. Same world, different main character, and I didn't realize it was like the 3rd series, so I needed to go back and read the rest before I continued that. I picked it up because it was the only one that was available, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, book 1. I'll start that. Learned that that's not really what I wanted, so my bad. Up next, I listened to Hood by Stephen Lawhead, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. It's a Robin Hood retelling. It's a very good book. It's really interesting. Then The Titan's Curse, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Thankfully, this was short. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It was kind of terrifying how far the boys went in this book. I understand why it's mandatory reading for schools, like why a lot of students have read this book. It was terrifying to see the changes that these kids go through from being stranded on an island. It was ridiculous. So then I started IQ84, or 1Q84 I should say, which I ended up DNFing at 60%, and that was by Haruki Murakami. I'm going to do a completely different video for that because I can go on a tangent, and this video is already 18 minutes long, so I'm just look down below and eventually I'll do a video. If it's not down there, I haven't recorded it yet, comment, Nikki, go make that video. And then the last book for June was The Miserable Mill by Lemony Snicket, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So for June in total, I read 7,462 pages. Now, that is mostly because of audiobooks, like I said. The reason why I ended up counting 1Q84 towards that is because I did get 60% into the trilogy. It was a Japanese, original Japanese trilogy translated to English into one large book of 1,100 pages. So I read a lot of it, and then I just couldn't listen to it anymore. I could not keep reading it because of the reasons I'll go into a different story. Now, for this month, I have only finished 2 books, and I'm on the 3rd, or for July, I should say. I read Dragon Bones by Patricia Briggs, which is a completely separate series from the Mercy Thompson series. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. It was written back in 2002, so I think it was written before the Mercy Thompson series, and you can clearly see the growth that she's had since then, which is why it wasn't 5 out of 5 stars like most of her books, but I did actually really enjoy the concept of it and the story, and I like the characters. And I also finished Firestarter by Stephen King, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I think if this was more modernized, I might have enjoyed it more, but there were just too many little things that irked me. I enjoyed it enough to finish it, and I enjoyed the concept enough to want to finish it, but it wasn't actually what I had wanted to read when I picked it up, because when I originally picked it up, I thought I was looking into a different book. The book I was looking for was Fireman by Joe Hill, his son. I have remembered my best friend telling me about the book, but all I remembered about it was fire. And then because it's Joe Hill and it's a Stephen King son, my brain went to that. So when I saw Firestarter, my brain just was like, oh, that must be the book that Ashley really enjoyed. So I borrowed it and listened to it, and about a quarter of the way through, I'm like, this doesn't sound like the book that she was talking about. And it turns out it's not. That would be why. This was written in 1981, so it was a relatively old book, older than me, so it's an old book. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed how it started off with psychological testing, and I'm really intrigued with psychological testing. And it started off with the effects that caused, and then it ended with how the government's trying to reel that back in from the damage they caused from the psychological testing they did in the 60s. And currently I am listening to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is book 7. Finally, I started it on Harry Potter's 20th birthday. Yeah. So I'm actually was excited because I was reading about his 17th birthday on his birthday. Birthdayceptions. So in total, for the year, I have read or listened to 72 books so far. That is counting 2 of the 4 books that I DNF'd, because I read them far enough in my opinion, that it counts. I did not count books that I DNF'd prior to like 20%, but 2 books I got to about 50 to 60%, and I just didn't want to finish them. They weren't calling me. I didn't want to suffer through it anymore, and I DNF'd them. But because I tried and gave it my all, I count them. So I'm going to try to become more active again on here now that my life is kind of settling down. We officially are moved. Hopefully that will be full next time. Maybe I'll find a new lighting source, because this is from the outside world and it's hot. I don't like it. But yeah, maybe I'll have a background next time. Anyway, what have you read over the last couple of months? What's your favorite book? Write that down below. And what's your least favorite book that you've read over the last 4 months? Also, have you read any of the books I mentioned today? And if you did, what did you think about it? Do you have any common interests, common complaints? I would love to chat with you down below, or on my social media for Twitter or Facebook, because I have both. And I will also put those down below. I also have Instagram, but I don't really use it. I use it mostly for working out stuff. So yeah. Anyway, like if you like it, subscribe if you want to, and this is Dragon Queen signing off.